The word racism needs to become a descriptive term, not a word that is used to shut down conversation. We are products, all of us, of a racist system. We have to acknowledge that and be unashamed to label our own actions and the actions of others as racist. It's a reality, and denying it doesn't improve anything. Third, as with all things, we should be basing our judgments of race and race issues on evidence, not emotion. We should be using our scientific inquiry to inform our attitudes, not simply the subtle voice of cultural indoctrination. And this isn't something that only white people need to do. This is not something that only non-white people need to do. This is something that everyone needs to be doing, examining the issues, determining what's real, and throwing out what's not. Finally, we must continue to promote the equality of all people and focus on our attention on those mutual struggles that will help change our biases and redefine how we see ourselves, not in opposition to each other, but as members of the same team. I appreciate your time and attention. Thanks very much.
Ian, thank you so much. That was magnificent. Are you willing to take questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Does anyone have questions for Ian? Excellent.
I don't want to sound racist, but well, my area of research is profiling.
Yes.
And most people think of, when I say profiling, they think of racial profiling. And I haven't quite figured out what I think about racial profiling. So again, let's say I don't know anything about the evidence, which I kind of don't.
Yeah.
Let's say the evidence was such that you knew that, let's go for 80% of the offenders in this case that you're investigating are going to be black.
Okay.
And you're out and you're looking, this crime just happened, you're out and you're looking for people to talk to.
Yep.
Would you say that you should not approach black people based on your evidence because that is racist?
There's three answers to that question. From a legal perspective, and I don't have a background in law, but from a legal perspective, you can't detain someone unless you have a reasonable suspicion that they have broken some kind of law. The question really becomes, does having a certain skin color qualify as reasonable suspicion of crime? I would say no, because while 80% of the offenders may be from one group, 99% of people in that group are not offenders. The other thing is the consequentialist. This gets into the sort of consequentialist versus philosophical, ethical kind of discussion. And I know if Brian Lynchon were here, I know exactly what he would answer. He would say that you can never use people as a means to an end. You can't use person X walking down the street, or fuck it, let's say, you can't use me as a means to solve a crime. That you can't infringe upon my autonomy, my right to walk down the street, just because you think that if you do it, you are more likely to solve a crime. Now, the other side is this consequentialist argument to say, well, we'll have fewer criminals if it's okay to harass random people. And I would say that I would more likely, and this is probably because I would be the first person they'd be looking for, maybe not the first, but I'd be among the group, that I'm not in favor of using race as defining race as just cause to violate somebody's human rights. Thanks.
I believe this is traditionally called fit the description.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fit the description of
You were black.
every criminal I've ever heard of. So
6
get
feet
in the,
tall.
get in the car, yeah. Wearing a suit.
Excellent. We have another question for you.
Skeptics often deal with biases, cognitive biases, and some of the things that Jacob was talking about earlier, the heuristic shortcuts that we take. We assume things based on old ideas.
Yeah.
And confirmation bias makes us remember things that agree with what we already believed.
Yes.
Would you say that racial bias is another example of these cognitive biases, or in what ways is it different?
I mean, it's not different in principle, it's different in fact. The consequences, the outcome of these kinds of attitudes have far-reaching and unbelievably negative consequences. We're talking about an entire continent of millions and millions of people who are, and I'm sorry, this is going to be an incredibly opinionated statement, but who are largely being ignored because of the color of their skin. Now, you may not all agree with that, and that's your right, but I can't see any other way around it. So we're talking about the same cognitive processes, but the problem is, as I see it, that because admitting to those biases makes us feel like we're bad people dispositionally, that we are evil. Instead of dealing with the biases and admitting the fact that we have them, we say we don't have them, and we make these big shows of this and that without actually solving the problem. If you look at how Native issues, issues in the Aboriginal community are being solved by the government right now, they throw lots and lots of money into these communities, but don't do anything to actually improve it. They just say, we're going to throw this money, we're going to start this program, we're going to do this thing. We are going to come in and save you from yourselves, rather than saying, we have a problem, we have to fix it. And maybe it seems like a subtle semantic difference, but it's an important cognitive one. So I don't think that they are different brain processes. I don't think that racism is special. But it is the way that we treat it, as opposed to the way that we treat other biases. People don't get angry. They don't come to blows when you say, you have cognitive dissonance. But if someone says, listen, man, that's really racist, done, over. So, yeah, that would be my answer. Who's next?
Who's next?
Bring it on. Are we good?
Cowards. Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much, Ian. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Cromwell.